Hey guys, welcome to Startup Sessions. My name is Abe Leachy, and today I want to talk to you about things to consider from a legal perspective when you're starting your business. First thing you're going to want to consider is the business structure, whether you're going to choose to be an LLC or a corporation or some other sort of partnership structure is something you're going to want to give some serious thought to because it could have serious consequences for your business down the line. Things to consider are going to depend on your business type, whether you want to be a cash flow business or if you're going to do hyper growth and you want to seek VC or angel funding. So in one instance, you might go with an LLC, and another you might want to do a Delaware C Corp. And again, it just depends on what your aims are. Related to that is you want to make sure you have proper partnership or co-founder agreements in place as soon as possible. So if you're an LLC, that's going to be in the form of an operating agreement. If you're setting up a corporation, it might be a stockholder or shareholders agreement, or you might have some sort of informal but formal co-founders agreement. And the reason you want to figure this out earlier on is because you might assume that your co-founders have thoughts about the business and how it should run. But until you actually talk about it, which you're forced to when you go through the process of drafting these agreements, you're not entirely sure, and it could result in something being disputed down the line, and it could cause tension with your co-founders. So the sooner on you do that, the better. Next is related to that is your business licenses. Depending on the state you're in and the business type that you're in, you might be required to have business licenses. If you own a hair salon, you might need a license. If you own a gym, you might need a physical culture license. Whatever the case may be, you just want to make sure you have an understanding of that and apply for those licenses sooner rather than later because sometimes they take a while to get. There is a bureaucracy and it's just a real world thing to consider, so don't slack on that. Next, contracts. A lot of you probably considered or have done this where you just get a boilerplate template online and just use that. That might be fine if you know what you're looking for and if you understand what the different provisions are, but I do caution you that if you're not careful and you don't know what's in them, you're not educated about them, that it could cause serious issues for you down the line, especially as your business grows, because you might have a contract with somebody when you first started that you use one of these templates and then you're growing and then all of a sudden you realize that you've given away a bunch of IP rights, which could seriously be a detriment to your business. So I don't think you need to spend a ton of money on this, but you're going to need things like employer contracts, service provider or independent contractor agreements, depending on your business type, manufacturing, distribution agreements, consulting agreements, stuff like that. So just be cognizant of it, educate yourself, get as much info as you can, and if you do need legal help, you should get it. Next thing you want to consider is protecting your intellectual property. You guys probably figured this out from my previous videos, but I am very, very serious about protecting your IP. I think if you're not looking at trademarking, especially if you're a brand and the brand name and brand equity is a key part of your business, then you're making a huge mistake. I've seen this happen where people are in business for 3, 4, even 10 years. One of my clients happened to have this issue. And you finally get around to trademarking and then you have to rebrand. It's going to be expensive. You could face potential infringement issues and it's going to cost you money. Hopefully not, but it could. And lost time and focus on building your business. If you're in the business of a technology, a proprietary technology, or some sort of invention, you should probably consult a patent attorney because you don't want to get in a situation where you're convinced that you have this great invention and you pour all this money into it, and then you realize that it's not actually something that you could patent and somebody else can just rip it off and do the same thing, but they have a larger infrastructure. So it's something you should check out earlier on. Patenting could be expensive, but if that's your business, that's your business. And copywriting, I don't think it's as important because you do own copyright once you create the original work of art. But if you're in the creative industries or some sort of industry where it is an important consideration to have your content copyrighted, then of course consider that. It's not that expensive and it's fairly easy to do. The next thing you want to consider, and hopefully you guys all get to this point, but when you're doing the fundraise. So fundraising can be a very confusing and grueling process, especially if you've never done it before. It honestly could be a full-time job for founders for 6 months trying to raise money. But the more you can educate yourself on how to go about it and what the different types of fundraising options are, the better suited you're going to be and the more intelligent and educated you sound to potential investors. So if you're an earlier stage company, you might consider doing a SAFE agreement or convertible note. If you're a later stage, you might be doing your Series A, it'll be a price round. All these things are things to consider and are going to be based on your business type. but at least educate yourself on the terms. You can get safe agreements for free at Y Combinator, and you can find convertible note templates online, a bunch of places. And these are super helpful, but unless you know what these provisions mean, you could be setting yourself up to be taken advantage of by investors, or just looking like you're not educated and investors might not be inclined to give you money. So just get yourself educated. Anyway, I'm going to go into more details about all of these things. And if you have any questions about anything specific, or if you want to hear anything in future videos sooner rather than later, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. If you love it, you hate it, whoever even got this to this point. I know it's a bit of a long video, but I always appreciate constructive feedback, and thank you guys for listening.